とギークのエッセンシャル漫画オタクとドンギークのエッセンシャル漫画みんなで集まって楽しもうみんなで集まって楽しもう最高のストーリー笑顔で届け最高のストーリー顔で届けエッセンシャル漫画素敵な世界
Welcome everybody to TacosandGeeks.com. Justin here, back with more Essential Manga. This is episode 5, and I do apologize for not being on screen for this particular episode. I am still feeling like SHIT, so I will not be on camera. So you instead will be getting a voiceover over still images of the manga. So I do apologize for the quality of the actual presentation. But that being said, it doesn't stop us from talking about what we love here at ONG, which is anime, manga, games, movies, the whole enchilada. So today, for episode 5 of Essential Manga, we will be talking about the manga Banana Fish, which was released in 1985. I wasn't even alive yet. One more year and I entered this planet. So, as always, I give you a brief synopsis of the actual book. So, here it is. Set primary in New York City in the 1980s, the series follows street gang leader Ash Lynx as he uncovers a criminal conspiracy involving banana fish, a mysterious drug that brainwashes its users. And one thing I do like about Banana Fish is the fact and reason why I feel like it is essential manga. It does a great job of combining action, drama, political ideologies, and emotional depth. Believe it or not, I was actually pretty shocked with this crime thriller to have this much emotional depth with its characters. And it's written and illustrated by Akimi Yoshida, and they do a wonderful, amazing job. One of the real key features and standouts of Banana Fish is its multi-layer plot. On the surface, you look at it as just this crime, gang war, drug trafficking, and corruption in New York. But when you really deep dive into it, you really get a lot of deeper themes such as friendship, family, trauma, the search for freedom. And the thing with Banana Fish is that Banana Fish is this mysterious drug, and its role in the story really does serve as kind of a catapult for exploring these power dynamics and these political conspiracies that happen, and of course, human rights abuses as well. And they do a great job of really balancing out the action and the emotional moments that really I felt really elevated the book and really do a great job when it comes to telling those layers of crime stories and crime dramas. But at the heart of Banana Fish is its characters, especially Ash Lynx and Okurama. And Ash is basically this gang leader. He was raised in a world of violence, and he has this kind of struggle with that. And it makes you. One thing I did while reading it and reading it again, it really makes you think of what happens when people are really brought up in a world full of violence and full of this type of traumatic past. We hear that term product of an environment a lot. And for this particular book, he kind of is. Ash, I will say that Ash kind of is this product of his environment. And, despite his cold exterior, it's kind of like Shrek. Now, remember in Shrek, where Shrek constantly talks about the onions and layers. That's exactly who Ash is. Ash has those layers. There's moments in here where he basically shows his humanity, where even through all the hardships and all the coldness, there is that little spark of light for Ash. And you really see that with his relationship with this Japanese photographer Okurama, and his photographer friend, and his photographer friend or EG, and EG's the name. And what happens with them is that Ash's trauma is filled with things that most people, you just go, wow, I can't believe it. But with EG, he has this innocence. And because you have someone who's innocent and then someone who's really having this traumatic past, to see them bond and have this deep friendship, or some might even say a romantic connection, it really drives the emotional core of this particular series. It's the relationship that makes Banana Fish from this simple crime thriller into more of an exploration of trust, love, and healing. It's that emotional investment that helps us develop these characters and connect with them on one of the key reasons why I feel like a lot of people still love Banana Fish to this day. And it does not shy away from depicting harsh realities of life and the fates of the characters. It really does feel earned, and it makes the stakes even that more enjoyable. But one thing Banana Fish also does well is tackling that issue of trauma. It also had things such as child abuse, human trafficking, PTSD, the devastation effects of drug addiction, and Ash's personal trauma, especially as he is a child victim of abuse himself. Keep in mind, like I said, he is a product of his environment, and that's something that was one of the core themes of the story is his struggle and how it's portrayed. It's handled very maturely. It's handled very well. And keep in mind, this is in 1985. So for those who are like me, mid 80s babies or were born in the mid 80s, then you know what was really going on at that time. You know what epidemic was going on at the time around the world, or at least especially here in America. Then you know there was such a huge drug problem, especially here in the States. So could you imagine reading something like Banana Fish during the crack epidemic? It would have definitely hit you hard and be like, oh my God, wow, this is some really deep stuff. And so the manga really does present that commentary on power structures and how they really did exploit the vulnerable. And this is really evident in how Ash is manipulated by the powers that be, and how the banana fish drug is used to control individuals for political gain. And by weaving these issues into the plot, we see a narrative that reflects those real world problems, especially at that time. And this type of thing is still going on to this day. So it kind of makes it relevant regardless on what era you're really living in. And that's one thing that I feel like why it's really essential, because you can pick this up in any time period after the 80s. You can read this in the 90s and still get hit. You can read this in the early 2000s and still feel it. 2010s and now 2020s, you can still pick it up and just go, wow, this is some really brilliant work here. And one thing I do really want to talk about also is the fact of some of the genre tropes that happens, because at first glance Banana Fish may seem like just your typical action crime story, and you see the things, you just go, okay, well, I've seen this before. It's crime, it's drug war, the gangs and things like that. But the series doesn't glamorize this violence. As a matter of fact, it kind of shows how tragic and destructive it actually is, and the personal cost of living in such a violent world. Yoshida did a wonderful job of challenging those norms in her portrayal of Ash and EG's relationship in a genre dominated by this hyper masculinity and male characters. Banana Fish shows two men who really just kind of rely on each other for emotional support. Vulnerability. There's always a saying that we're only as strong as our support system. And I feel like Banana Fish really kind of shows that, because these two really needed each other. And despite this being in the 1980s, set in 1980s New York, Banana Fish you can still pick up to this day. It has really clear depictions of various relationships, trauma, recovery, morality, and it's something that even in the recent 2018 anime adaptation renewed attention to it and how brilliant this thing was. And let's talk a little bit. We can't talk about manga without talking about the artwork. I really love Yoshida's art style in here. It's beautifully done. It really does a really good job of showing that emotion, especially the dynamic action scenes. She's really able to convey raw emotion through facial expressions, body language, and it really does add a flair of intensity to the story. The action scenes will hold on to you. It's gripping. It really has moments where the characters are just really showing who they are. And you really do see that in the tone of the story. And I thought she did a really great job of really illustrating that dark, gritty New York City at the time. And I thought the art style was pretty good as well. So to wrap this up, because I'm battling this cough right now. But Banana Fish is a great manga. If you've never checked it out, please check it out. Read this before you see the anime adaptation. It's essential because it's it's thrilling. It's a well crafted story. It is difficult at times because of the subject matter, and it could make people uncomfortable, especially in this time frame where people are really overly, well, I will say, kind of overly sensitive to things because we do have to address certain things and we have to face them head on. We can't always rage at the foam of the mouth over certain topics. I think if we all sit down and really just look at things and hear people's voices, we'll be better off. But Banana Fish asks us to look beyond the surface of crime and violence and see the humans behind them. And she does a really great job of illustrating that between our two protagonist characters. For manga fans seeking a story that's challenging and really dwells into complex themes, give Banana Fish a shot. This is Justin from otakugeeks.com, folks. Thank you for bearing with me on this one. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe. Essential Manga will be back with more episodes. Stay tuned for that. I'll catch you on the next one, folks. Later days.